Hello friends, how you all are today? We are here with new chapter, third part of What If Naruto Was a Son of Lucifer. Before starting story, please subscribe our channel. Story starts. Silver City. Uriel appeared before God. He looked up at his father with a glare on his face. Father, why didn't you send for me sooner? He questioned. God looked down at his disrespectful son. Uriel, I believe it at the time it would be good for you to spend some time down in the human world. But I was wrong for even being around your nephew, my very own grandson. You showed you only went down there for your own entertainment, for all the women you had spent nights with on missions, and when you leave the house when no one was looking. You basically answered the call for the sin of the flesh. Never once worried that something bad would befall your nephew. Lucifer walked into the room clapping his hands together as Kashina stood behind him as her hair was up in the air as if they had a mind of their own. Dear brother, I would have killed you the first time you stepped away from caring for my son. But my dear and lovely wife told me to give you a chance, for we all get stressed and need to relax in our own ways. But even now my wife regrets ever saying those words, said Lucifer as he looked at a pissed-off crimson-eyed Kashina. Now dear brother, please explain to me and father why you told my son those cold and harsh words, asked Lucifer as a black flaming sword appeared in his hands. Naruto and Michael, good, you are staying in the air longer. But you need to clean up all those openings in battle, said Michael as he swung a wooden sword down on Naruto's head. As said boy allowed his wings to fade away and he dropped from the sky as his wings reappeared behind his back. It's been 2 months since Uriel left and everyone in the house had relaxed a lot as well. All the angels haven't been taking on a rank missions anymore. They've been able to just relax and aid in Naruto's training whenever Michael was done beating him into the ground. Trixie walked out of the house. Alright Michael, the first need to boy. His team will be meeting up in 30 minutes and he needs to eat and shower. For we are taking a C-rank mission today, she called out at the blonde-hair archangel. Michael looks down and glares at the angel that wishes to live with demons. Fine. We are done here anyways, he said as he landed on the ground and grabbed a towel to wipe away the sweat that was on his face. He looked up as he felt eyes on him. Trixie blushes as she looked away as she was caught staring at him. Michael smirked at her as he walked past her, just stopping for a brief second. Do you enjoy what you see? He asked her as he vanished into the house. Trixie's cheeks burned crimson from his words as she quickly turned away from Naruto as she saw him running to her. I'll meet you with the others, she said as she vanished. Naruto just blinked and shrugged his shoulders as he didn't see what happened between the two as he ran into the house to shower and find something to eat. As he saw Michael standing in the kitchen drinking a glass of milk without his shirt on, he just shook his head and ran past him and up the stairs to his room and to the shower. Hell, Lucifer looked at a bloody and beaten Uriel laying on the ground before him. I will make you regret how you made my son feel that night, he growled out. Uriel looked up at Lucifer spitting out the blood from his mouth. He was shocked that his father allowed Lucifer to have him to take his pound of flesh from him and return him when he was done to face the punishment his very own father set for him as well. I don't give a damn. He is a spoiled brat that expect us all to stop everyone for him, he growled out. Lucifer's eyes flashed crimson as his black wings opened behind him as horns appeared on his head. My son? My son has a pure heart and soul. The purest I have felt outside of Silver City since I was a boy myself. Before my fall, he growled out. He wasn't spoiled when he just wanted to spend time with you and learn what you have to offer him. Have you forgotten, you bloodily bastard? That you offered to go to Earth and train my son? Not for you to go and get a good fuck in, he said as he kicked Uriel across the room that had been his home for the past 2 months. Just be grateful father will not allow me to kick you, said Lucifer as he turned and walked out of the room as the door closed and sealed shut. Outside stood Kashina as she looked up at her husband in his devil form. She softly smiled at him and placed her hand on his cheek as Lucifer tried to look away for her not to look at how ugly he believed himself to be. Lucifer, you are beautiful to me, said Kashina as she leaned up to him and kissed him on his lips softly. Lucifer's eyes widened with shock as his wife still found him beautiful in his hideous form. He pulled Kashina into his arms and just held her until he was back to normal. Kashina looked up at him with a soft smile on her face. Training Ground 10. Naruto came running up to his 2 teammates as his hair was still wet from his quick shower. Hey guys, he called, waving to them. Shikamaru opened her eyes from where she was napping to see her boyfriend running up to them. As Ino looked up from the training scroll her summons had given her to study. Hey Naruto, said Ino with a smile as she went back to her scroll. They still had about 15 minutes until Trixie or Maze showed up. "Hey Naru-kun," said Shika as she sat up a little, smiling at him. "Sorry I was late, you two," said Naruto as they like to meet early and train together. "It's fine. It gave me the time I needed to look over this scroll," said Ino as she figures she was going to get any more studying done and seals it away. "Also I got to take a nice little nap before we do any of those damn D-rank missions," said Shikamaru as she let out a sigh. Naruto shook his head to his girlfriend's lazy antics. "Yeah. But you could have been doing something," he told her. She narrowed her eyes at him. "I've been training with my father since 6 a.m. He wants to make sure I can take care of myself on our first real mission outside of the village. As my summons have me up at 5 a.m. running laps and training. They have taken after my troublesome mother," she said as she just wanted to go back to sleep. "Sounds like my training with my uncle Michael B. We start at 4 a.m. said Naruto as he lays down and lays his head on Shika's lap as she plays with his wet locks. "It appears your training ran late today," said Shika as she looks down into his beautiful eyes. "Yeah, it did. He has me working more with my wings. Also battling in the sky, telling me that it is important for the future. Whatever that means," said Naruto as he let a small yawn escape his lips. He really wanted a nap. But a life of a ninja was one of always being on your toes. But he felt relaxed and safe with his two teammates and knew they would protect him if he felt asleep, as they knew the same would be done for them with him. This was the sight that Trixie and Maze walked up on as they say Team 10 relaxing, chatting with each other with Naruto's head on Shikamaru's lap. "Alright brats. We have a mission. We are going with Team 7 on a simple escort mission to the Land of Waves," said Maze as she was now grinning. They all sat up. "Really?" asked Naruto as he was shocked to hear this. "Troublesome," said Shikamaru as she didn't feel like dealing with an annoying fangirl. "Oh great. Why? Sakura is going to be annoying and I don't want to deal with her," said Ino as she let out a sigh. Maze grinned. "It will be fine," she said, waving them off. Team 10 stood at the main gates as they waited for the ever-so-late Team 7. Ino just let out a sigh as she wanted to finish her training with her father. "Really, are they always this late?" questioned Ino as she crossed her arms. Just then Kiba comes running to the main gate with Akamaru running alongside him. "Hey guys. Sorry I'm late. Has my other teammates shown up yet?" he asked them as he was standing before them as he was panting a little as he had run all the way from his clan home. Ino looks at him a little annoyed. "We have been waiting for your team for over an hour, to the point your client is sitting over there drunk off his ass," she said as she points at the old man with his pointed straw hat and white towel wrapped around his neck. Kiba looked at her a little puzzled. "I am only 10 minutes late. Kakashi-sensei said that we are to meet at 11 a.m., he told them. Trixie narrows her eyes at what she was being told. "Really? Kakashi and I have been told that we are to meet at 10 a.m. at the main gates." Just as Trixie had said that Sasuke and Sakura come strolling along with their own packs on their backs. Sakura narrows her eyes at Ino as she was ready to fight her ex-friend over her teammate. Ino just glared back at the pinkette. Slowly a small grin crept across her lips as she looks at Naruto and jumps on his back, wrapping her arms around his neck and kissing him on the cheek. "Thank you Naruto-kun for everything," she tells him. All of Team 7 looks at the pale blonde with shock and wide eyes as they look over at the raven hair girl. A grin crept across her lips as he jumped into his arms and kissed him on the lips. Naruto's eyes widened as he returned the kiss and blushed, with Ino hanging off of him and giving him a kiss on the cheek as well. He was being sandwiched between the two girls and not really knowing what to do. "Damn," said Kiba as he was shocked at what just happened. Sasuke just nodded his head as he didn't know what to say about what he just saw. He knows that the blonde is dating the lazy Nara heiress, but didn't know there was also something going on between him and the Yamanaka heiress as well. "That is disgusting, Ino pig, Shika hog," hissed out Sakura as she turned away from them and looked at Sasuke from the corner of her eye as she was hoping maybe he would try something like that with her. Both girls of Team 10 just smirk at the pinkette. "At least we have a man. Unlike you who just stalks your teammate that doesn't even like you," said Shikamaru as she smirks. Ino had a slight blush on her cheeks as what her best friend had just said, as Naruto had grown brighter with his blush. As Sakura was getting ready to fight with the raven hair girl, her sensei comes flying past her and her two male teammates. Kakashi slowly wandered around the village as he had gathered everything he needed for his mission and had gone and restocked on several shinobi tools that he might need for the mission, and then picked up some food for this mission as he didn't really want to hunt and just eat MREs and did like to have some fresh fruit with him. But unknown to him, he was being stalked by two individuals from the shadows. Amber eyes narrow in on the young silver hair man as he read his perverted book. As the woman that stood next to him laughed. "He is being late to test you on your warning," said the woman. He looks at her as he follows him with out of the corner of his eyes. "Well, he will find out the hard way that it isn't wise to cross me. Something I thought I taught him this while he was still a little boy," he growled out. "Well, it appears he had forgotten that lesson over time," said Maze as she looked at Sakumo as he was slowly shifting to his werewolf form. With a growl, Sakumo jumps down from the rooftop across to where Kakashi was standing just reading his book. "Boy, I have warned you about being late for missions and training. Did you think I was playing with you?" he growls out as he stalks up to the man. Kakashi looks at him with his single eye with fear. No sir," he said with fear in his voice. "Why do I feel like speaking to my father?" he questioned himself in the back of his mind. "Then explain to Maze and myself why you are over an hour late for your mission to the Land of Wave?" questioned Sakumo as he is towering over his son. His normal amber eyes now flashing crimson as he was growing tired of his son's foolish games. I needed a few supplies before the mission, and I didn't know I was running low until I was packing," said Kakashi as he was hoping this would save his ass. Sakumo nodded his large wolf head at him as he raises his large clawed hand, wrapping his long fingers with long sharp claws around his son's head. "Then tell me, why have you been standing here for the past 20 minutes reading that trash?" he questioned as he raises Kakashi off the dirt road that lead down the main gates. Kakashi, dropping his book in fear, wraps both his hands around the wrist of the beast that held him at his mercy. His body trembled with fear as he was powerless to this demon that held him in the air. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to test you, father," cried out Kakashi. Sakumo pulled his son close to him. "How long have you known I was back from the dead?" he whispered into his son's ear. Kakashi's single eye widened as he didn't know this demon. This man was really his father back from the dead. He just said it as he remembered how his father would get with people when they crossed him. "How?" was his only question. "I'll tell you after this mission. But do not ask any questions. For Trixie or Maze can summon me to them, and I will not be happy to hear that you have been hounding them, boy," growled Sakumo as he threw his son at the main gates where Trixie stood with both teams. Sakumo ran after the flying shinobi as he wanted to make show of it and put a little fear into people just for fun. Kakashi slammed into the wall, sliding down it. His single eye held fear and tears. Something that the younger shinobi were not sure if the man could handle this mission that was before them. "Remember, boy. You are a shinobi. You are on time for missions and training. Stop slacking off with training." That pink hair thing standing there with the duck-ass boy and pup, growled out Sakumo. Sakura made a fist and glared at the werewolf that stood before her. "How dare you call?" She didn't finish screaming at the beast before her as the crimson eyes looking at her scared her deep down into her very soul. "Do not raise your voice at me, Genin. I am a Jonin of this village and you are nothing but a rookie that is shit that sticks to the bottom of my boot," roared out Sakumo as Sakura fell on her ass and crawled away from him with fear. "Why, yes, sir," said Sakura between tears and fear lacing her voice as he was now hiding behind her two male teammates as they both quickly move away from her, leaving her to her own fate that she had sown for herself. Tazuna looked at the beast that was standing before him, talking and growling and attacking the shinobi that have been hired to protect him. He looked down at the bottle sake in his hand and back up at the black fur and amber eyes looking at him and back down at the bottle. Slowly he placed the bottle down. "I think I have finally started seeing things from drinking too much," he said to no one but himself. Sakumo smirked at the man before him. "No sir, you're not seeing things. It is a very rare bloodline that runs in my family that allows me to turn into this beast you see before you," he tells Tazuna. Slowly Tazuna nods his head to this. "I wish I had more money to hire you for protection. For anyone that attacks me on my trip home and while working on my bridge would run for the hills," he said as this made Sakumo look at him oddly. He felt something was off with the Mont statement. He was going to have Ruby and her pack follow after them, and if anything happens to them, he will be joining the mission. Hokage be damned. Kakashi finally recovered as he looked at his team and Team 10. "Where are your packs?" he questioned them. I have everything sealed away in scrolls and in these seal tattoos," said Naruto as him and his team hold up their arms, showing up the sealing tattoos on their forearms. He nods his head and looks over at the client. "I am sorry I am late. I had to gather a few things for the mission," he tells Tazuna. Tazuna waves him off. "It is fine. Let's just get going before nightfall. I don't want to travel after sunset for of the stories of something that stalks the forest around here on full moons," he says, looking over at Sakumo, who just give him a feral grin. Now standing there is a man with raven locks. "Those would be my summons. My hellhounds like to run out in the wild during full moons and hunt," he told the old man with a dark grin. "All right brats, let's go," said Maze as she grins and looks over at Kakashi, who just nods his head to her as Trixie is standing there in her cute chibi from. "Does your team have 4 genin?" asked Tazuna as he was walking next to Maze, who was cleaning her nails with one of her daggers. Looking over at him and over at Trixie as he was looking at the young girl. "No, my sister is a jonin and is in her 20s, she said as if it was no big deal." Tazuna's eyes widen. "Then why does she look like a child?" he questions as he felt uneasy with a child traveling with them. "For I am able to shift my body to any size I want and to any age I want," said Trixie as now she stood before him as a 20-year-old girl with an hourglass figure smirking at him. He just dumbly nods his head to this as Sasuke and Kiba just keep their eyes on her as they found her hot. She had curves in all the right places and her chest was the perfect size for them and a nice peach-shape ass. Sakura frowns as she sees how Sasuke and even Kiba is drooling over the Jonin sensei of Team 10 frowning at them. They had been traveling all day and are about 3 hours from the coastline between the Land of Fire and Land of Waves. Naruto looks at his 2 aunts. "I think I'll get a look form up in the air. For I keep picking up something and it has me on edge," he tells them. Both Trixie and Maze nod their heads to this. Kakashi looks over at the 2 women in wonder of how Naruto is going to be taking to the air. Before he can even voice anything, white and black wings appear on the back of the boy's back and he jumps into the air, flapping his wings, looking down at them as he moved up over the tree line. "What in the hell?" said Tazuna as he drops his sake bottle and wipes his face with his towel. If he lives after this mission, he was going to stop drinking. For the shinobi of Konoha are not normal and the ones from Team 10 are strange as well. Up in the air, Naruto flies over the land and sees that there are 2 men standing about a mile ahead of them and are going no hand signs and vanishing into puddles of water. He frowns at this and radios back. "Hey! We got trouble up ahead. They are shinobi and are in a genjutsu on the side of the road as puddles of water," he reports. Maze and Trixie smirk. "Well Naruto, do you want to engage them on your own or do you believe you will be needing any help?" asked Maze. Naruto narrows his eyes over into the woods and smirks. "I will engage. But Ruby and the others have been trailing us. I'll go speak with her before I attack," he told Maze. "All right, be careful," said Trixie. "We will be waiting here until we get the coast is clear," said Maze as she looks everyone. "What is going on?" asks Kakashi as he is confused at everything that has happened in the past few seconds. "There is an ambush up ahead of us and they have some shinobi training. So Naruto is going to be handling it before we enter the area," said Trixie as she smirks. "What? The dope isn't that strong," said Sasuke as he was growing annoyed. "Are you sure Naruto is strong enough to handle trap up ahead?" questions Kiba as he is worried. "He will be fine. He can last about 30 minutes against his uncle Sakumo in his werewolf from. So those 2 bandits ahead of us will be no problem at all," said Shikamaru as she looked up ahead of them but was being blocked by the bend in the road and all the thick forest before them. They all looked at the raven-hair girl with shock. "He can fight that thing?" asked Sakura as fear was written all over her face and voice. "Yeah. We can last 30 minutes against him as well. But we have to team up together though," said Ino as she looks at them as if it wasn't a big deal. "Even though we know he is taking it easy on us. Well, he isn't breaking our bones like he does with Naru-kun," she told them. Kakashi just pales at hear this. His sensei's son was being injured to such a degree and no one even batted an idea at this. Screams cut their conversation as a male missing his right arm falls from the sky before them as another man is being dragged over to them with the chain attached to his left arm and at the end of the chain is the other mon's missing right arm. Ruby and the other hellhounds have both men now pinned to the floor. Growling and licking their lips at them as their fangs are being flashed every time they snap at them. Naruto lands next to them. "It appears we have 2 missing Chunins from the Land of Mist. Their boss sent them to kill the bridge builder and whoever is traveling with him. For they can't have any loose ends, for Gato of Gato's shipping has a large bound on the old man," he said as he looks over at Tazuna. "Are those two the demon brothers?" questioned Ino as Shikamaru pulls out a midnight blue bingo book from her pouch. "Yeah. We have the demon brother and are known to work with Zabuza. They are low-ranking C-class chunin as they rely on tag-team teamwork to get this missions done. They ran away from the village with their master after he failed to kill their village's Kage," said Shikamaru as she looks up from the bingo book as she puts it away. Kakashi arches a brow at Team 10. "You gave your genin bingo books?" he questioned Maze. "Yes. As part of T&I want them to know who's out there and who they might be facing in the future. What did you think, that we are going to be holding their hands forever?" asks Maze as she glares at the silver hairman. "Well, no, but I just don't think is it wise is all," said Kakashi as he checks over the two men to see if they are still alive. Ruby stands up on her hind legs and shifts into a woman. "I'll take them back to my lover." "Yeah, tell Uncle Sakumo things have gotten hairy, for we are facing Zabuza next," said Naruto as Trixie just nodded her head to this. "I will do that. He has grown bored in the village and Michael will not fight him," said Ruby as a dark smirk crosses her lips. "Yeah, well, can you blame him? If those two fight, they will destroy the village," said Ino as she looked worried about the idea of those two fighting ever. Kakashi just pales even more. There was more to the Namikaze family than meets the eye. Something he would need to look into, and also how was his father back from the dead. Sakumo sat in the Hokage's office just glaring at the old leader. "Why was I called in here for?" he questioned as he wasn't in the mood. His son had found out he was alive and hadn't bothered speaking with him since being back. But he has been busy with keeping his charge safe from those fools in the village and outside of it. The Hokage just looked at the man that sat before him. "I was informed that you attacked Kakashi Hatake before his mission," he said with a commanding voice, trying to remind the man before him who the boss was. Sakumo just smirked at the elderly man before him. "I was just enforcing what I told him in the past, and he was testing me if I would keep my word. Which I did," he said with a smirk on his face. "What were you enforce on my shinobi?" questioned the third Hokage as he was growing tried with the man before him. But there wasn't much he could do with him, for Sakumo had more political pull than himself. Sakumo's smirk grew even larger. "I was enforcing the importance on always being on time for missions and team training. For all the time he is wasting on screwing around at that stone and just wandering around the village reading that foolish book. He is wasting the genin's time as well as the clients' and village's time when he is late for meetings you call for us all," he said as he had a smug look in his eyes. For he had done something that not even Ibiki could do with the silver hairman. The Hokage's mouth hung open with shock. "Why, you did what?" he questioned, shocked. "I have fixed your problem with him always being late for missions and meetings from here to his team. He didn't believe I would whip his ass if he didn't do as I told him," said Sakumo as he was leaning back in the armchair he was sitting in as his grin changed as he could now smell blood coming from the shadows and window of the Hokage's office as Ruby and her pack jumped thought the window with two men. One missing an arm and the other dragging said arm by a chain attached his own arm. "Sakumo-sama," said Ruby as she was on one knee before the man. "Speak now, Ruby," commanded Sakumo as the third Hokage as he was now watching on with shock. "Naruto along with my team have taken down the two missing ninjas from Kiri. The demon brothers who work for Zabuza, also known as the Demon of the Bloody Mist. Naruto-kun had sent us back to inform you about what is happening, and his team and the other team will be needed back up for Kakashi, and the others will not be a match for what Gato of Gato's shipping has put a bounty on bridge builder, for he can't not have a bridge to stop his strong hold on the poor island," said Ruby. Sakumo sits up in the armchair growling. "What did you say?" he growls out. His eyes flash crimson from amber as he was turning into a werewolf before the Hokage, who has never seen the man shift like this before, as crimson flames licked at his feet. "The client has lied about the mission ranking?" questioned Sarutobi as he looked at Ruby. "Yes, Lord Hokage. But you can't blame the poor man. For he has spent all his funding on building material for the bridge. As Gato is bleeding the island dry and has kidnapped several of the women and young girls to sell into the sex trade," said Ruby as she could see Sakumo was growing angrier by the second. "I will pay for the higher mission, if you add me to it. For I worry Naruto will get himself hurt or killed trying to protect his teammates and those fools on Kakashi's team. Well, besides the pup who's trying to make himself into a true shinobi," growled out Sakumo as he was pulling money out of his pouch and throwing it at the Hokage. Fine. Go, said the Hokage as he knew there was no stopping the man. Ruby, go to Maze and tell her to summon me in 20 minutes. For I need to gather supplies, and if any of those angels want to join me, ordered Sakumo as he was moving to the window to jump out and make his way to the family compound. Ruby turned to the Hokage. It might be best to mark the other two joining the mission as well, she tells the Hokage with a bow. Fine, said Sarutobi with a wave of his hand as his Anbu has come out of their hidden corners to clean up the two men to get them some medical treatment, and then seen by Ibiki as they are still alive. The team to the wave Ruby appeared before Naruto. Sakumo-sama wishes to be summoned here in the next 20 minutes. She tells Naruto as she looks over at Maze. Maze smirks, nodding her head. Fine. Let your lover know I'll be summoning him here in the next 20 minutes, she told the Hellhound. Naruto looks over at his aunt as he sees that Kakashi is hiding behind Trixie. He arches an eyebrow at this. Why was this man so scared of his uncle? Something he would have to ask. Oh, Kakashi-chan. Don't be scared of the big bad wolf. He isn't going to eat you. Well, he might if you piss him off, said Trixie as she giggles, patting the frightened man on his silver locks. Kakashi's eyes roll back in his head from the sheer fear he was feeling at this very moment on having his dead father joining them on a mission. Naruto walks over to the man and picks up a stick and slowly pokes the man with his stick. Is he going to be all right? He asks as he looks up to his two aunts. He will be fine, said Maze as she had a sadistic grin on her face, looking forward to what will happen with the father-son meeting. The time flew by and the 20 minutes was up, and Maze had thought the special hand signs needed to summon a demon. This demon she was calling was one of Lucifer's powerful newer generals that could take down even Azazel. With him beating the great demon, Sakumo assured the demon's loyalty to Lucifer after everything. Crimson flames came from the summoning circle with flames licking around him and the three others standing in the circle around him. Michael narrowed his eyes at the other team joining his twin brother's son's team. Kakashi just paled even more when he saw Michael. Sensei? He whispered in fear. I am not my brother, you fool, hissed out Michael as he walks past Kakashi and walks over to Maze and Trixie. What has happened so far? He demanded of the two women before him. Naruto and Ruby took out two Chunins that had planned a surprised attack on us. But Naruto had an odd feeling and could smell something off and went to check it out from the sky. He did well if you ask me, said Trixie as she smiles at the archangel standing before her. Michael nodded his head at this. Excellent. It appears he is taking to my training well, he said as he looks over at Naruto, who just smiles and turns back to talking to Kiba, Shika, and Ino about something. Sakumo stood before Tazuna. I have paid for a higher mission for you to get 3 Jonins on this mission along with the 3 Jonins already on this mission, he said as he looked at the gray hair man before him. Thank you very much. I didn't have the money for a higher mission, said Tazuna with tears rolling down his cheeks. I know. My summons Ruby told me as well as the Hokage, said Sakumo as he looks over to the Hellhound that stood off in the shadows of the forest around them all. Tazuna saw where the man before him was looking and saw the other Hellhounds watching and growling from the shadows of the forest. Hell, Lucifer laughs as he saw what Sakumo done to his son. About time someone knocks some scene in that boy, he tells his wife as she is looking at a few files on the desk. I do agree, said Kashina as she placed down several files down before herself. Hun. Yes, love? Questioned Lucifer looking over to his wife as she has a shy smile on her face. You know that the Chunin exams are coming up in a few months and I would like to enter a team, form a couple of the families in hell, said Kashina as she looks at him with the dangerous puppy eye no jutsu. Lucifer sweat drops and smiles at her. I was looking into that and I do believe that would be an excellent idea of sending a team of our own, he told his wife. Kashina smiles. Good. I have several here that I believe that would be ready for that type of exam, she tells him. He nods his head and looks down at the files. Rosweiss sat across a crimson hair woman who narrowed her violet eyes at her. As Rosweiss was staring at Lucifer with a slight blush on her cheek. You called for me, master? Asked the silver hair woman. Lucifer for one just cleared his throat and looked over to his beloved wife. My darling wife was the one to call for you, Rosweiss, he told her. Now this had the silver hair woman now looking at the crimson hair beauty that was sitting on the armrest of her master's chair. The woman that she hadn't noticed when she had walked into his office. She blinked her aqua eye at the violet eyes now glaring at her openly. "You're married to my master?" she questioned with pure shock lacing her voice. Kashina got a smug look on her face. "Yes. He is my husband and we are happily married," she told the woman that sat across from them. This made Rosweiss frown as she had lost any chance she believed she would have with the man that sat across from her. "Just my luck. He returns from the human world with a bride. Why did I have to wait?" "Oh, that's right, Maze," she thought to herself as tears streamed down her now puffy cheeks. "Was there a reason for calling me?" questioned Rosweiss after a few seconds of self-pity. She looked at the man and woman that sat across from her. Kashina had an evil demonic grin on her face that made Rosweiss sink back into the armchair she was sitting in. "Yes. You are to select 3 teenage devils to go to the human world to take part in the Chunin exams that will be happening in a few months' time," Kashina told the woman that sat across from her. This made Rosweiss arch a brow at the woman. "What's the Chunin exams? Why do I need teenagers?" she questioned, not truly knowing that the human world above had changed a lot. She had seen a lot of new types of people and demons popping up in hell as of late and in the other pure worlds but hadn't looked into it, as she didn't really care at the time. Kashina's right eye began to twitch as she looks down at Lucifer as he knew she was going to lose it and it wasn't going to end well for the silver hair woman that was sitting across from them. Letting out a defeated sigh, Lucifer looks at Rosweiss. The Chunin exams is an exam that tests the skill of a shinobi to see if they are ready to move up to a higher ranking. They need a team of 3 to begin the exam and for the final part of the exam 1 to all 3 to none of them can move on, he told the confused woman. Her eyes light up as she understood now and then held a question within them. Sir. May I ask you a question?" asked Rosweiss. Lucifer nodded his head for her to ask. "Well, why don't you send Sakumo? He is a shinobi and is better suited for this mission," said Rosweiss as she felt a little weird taking on this mission for her master. "We would have. But Sakumo is in the human world aiding in raising our son," said Kashina as she smiled at the woman before her as she loved the shocked expression on the woman's face. "You're your son?" stammered Rosweiss as she looked shocked as she also paled at this new piece of information. "Yes. Our son," said Kashina smiling like the cat that ate the canary. The silver hair woman just dumbly nodded her head to this. Okay. But who do you have in mind for my team?" she questioned as she didn't know who would work well together. 3 files appeared before Rosweiss. She looked down at them and clipped to each file was a photo and name. The first is Rias Gremory, a crimson hair beauty from a house of high-ranking Devil's Knights that sever under Lucifer. Second is Ingvild Leviathan, a purple hair beauty with orange eyes. Final member of the group Kuroka, a raven hair beauty with golden amber eyes and cat ears on her head and twin cattails. "You give me a princess, a siren, and an assassin for this mission?" questioned Rosweiss, a little puzzled at this odd team that was given to her. "They each have powers and strengths that will aid them well in the human realm and will help carry one of them to the finals of the Chunin exams. Where I or someone that will represent me will go to Earth to play the cage of our new hidden village Yomi no Kuni and have them act as the Yamikage," said Lucifer with a grin. For he knew for his brother's screw-up, God's hold on having him stay in hell was weakening and he would be able to escape soon. But he wasn't sure if his beautiful wife would be able to join him though. But if he returned to the land of the living, he wouldn't be able to return looking like Minato Namikaze but as Lucifer Morningstar. The Rosweiss just nodded her head. "Yes sir, as you wish. I will find the girls and inform them of their mission," she said, stand and bowing to the 2. "Before I forget, I want you and the girls to show up here in the morning. For you all will be getting Shinobi Bootcamp 101, said Kashina as a crimson aura surrounded her as her hair formed 9 crimson tails. "Yes my lady," said a frightened Rosweiss as she vanished from the office. Lucifer looks up to this wife. "You are enjoying this way too much. You know we could have chosen Shinobi that Sakumo had recruited into his own army," he told his darling wife. Kashina looked down at her husband with a wicked but angelic grin on her face. "Oh, I know that, dear. But I want to teach those little girls a lesson," she told him as she stood up and left his office. This left Lucifer wonder what the hell those 3 had done to piss off Kashina. Coast of the Land of Fire. Michael looks at Naruto. "I want you to fly across this sea to the other shoreline," he ordered as he found this would be good training for the boy. Naruto looked taken back by this. He wasn't expecting to be flying over this stretch of sea to the other side. He figured at most he would have been ordered to water walk or something along those lines. Are you sure? You're not worried of someone spotting me? He questioned with a little nervous about the orders he had been given by his uncle. Michael ached a golden brow to this. Are you questioning my orders? He asked the young blonde that stood before him. No sir. I'm not. I was just clarifying that is all, said Naruto as his wings appeared behind him and he took off running and jumped into the air and flew off leaving the others. Maze narrowed her eyes at the archangel that stood before her. You best be joining him. For there could be an unknown on the other side of the shoreline. She hissed out at him. Michael just rolled his eyes as his mighty wings appeared from his back and with one might push, he was off the ground and up into the air flying across the sea that laid before them all. Sasuke just looked annoyed at how Naruto and his freak of an uncle had something he couldn't have nor copy. By now poor Tazuna had given up drinking. He threw the bottle of sake into the sea before them all as a decent-sized boat appeared from the mist that was before them all. The boatman just glared at the old drunk. Watch where you're throwing that damn thing, you old drunk. He hissed as he looked at all those that stood on the shoreline. I don't have enough room for everyone here, he said looking at all the Jonin and Genin. Don't worry, we have our own way across, said Trixie as wings appeared behind her back and the other two angels' backs and they also pushed off the ground. We will be meeting you on the other side, she called out with a giggle. As even the boatman threw out his own bottle of sake thinking the thing had gone bad. Naruto flew around the shoreline looking around for anyone from up high in the sky as he used the clouds as cover from anyone spotting him. He even used his chakra to find others. For now it looked good. He quickly dove down into a small clearing surrounded in mist by the shoreline. He had seen the boat making a beeline for that spot and there he would wait for the others. Not bad. But you need to pick up speed when you are descending onto the earth, said Michael from behind the boy. Naruto turned around and looked up at his uncle. I know. But I will get better with time, he said as he looked around the area. He figured if he was here might as well do a little scouting around before the others got there. Naruto looked back at his uncle. I can feel someone watching us. They are about a quarter of a mile away, he said looking back into the tree line that was not too far from them. Michael nodded his head. Yes, I picked up on the child myself, he said as he turned to look at the others that just arrived to hear what he had said. So what do we do about them? Questioned Trixie as her wings vanished into her back and walked over to Naruto to make sure the boy was doing okay. For now, we just allow them to watch us. For I believe they are only the lookout for the one that we will be facing here soon, said Naruto looking back at the others as the boat makes shorefall. They all just nod their heads and look at the other genin as they walk up to the shore. You must learn not to be so loud while walking, little one, growled out Michael as he looked at the Uchiha of the group. The boy had pretty much splashed his way up to the shore. As Shika, Ino, and Kiba had already learned how to water walk and stood on top of the water looking at Sasuke and Sakura, who was getting ready to yell at the archangel that stood before her. If I was you, I would keep that trap of yours shut, little girl, said Michael as a flaming sword appeared in his head as he pointed at the pinkette. Sakura just dumbly nodded her head at the blonde's request. Michael just smirked at this as the flaming sword vanished from where it had come. Kakashi looked on with fear as his father was breathing down his neck. You will be training these children better while we are here, growled out Sakumo as he looked at his son with disappointment in his eyes. My death and the death of the girl, it broke him too much. If only he knew his one friend was still alive and was twisted by that bastard, he thought to himself as he made a fist. We have eyes on us, so we will be coming with caution from here on out, said Maze as she looked at the others around her. All the adults nodded their heads as the genin looked at each other. Naruto saw the fear in Sakura's eyes and the unmistakable bloodlust that lingered in Sasuke's eyes. Kiba just shook his head as his partner jumped from his jacket and began sniffing the ground as Ruby and the other hellhounds appeared to aid the little puppy and maybe train him better. He was well trained. But there was still more room for the pup to grow. With Haku, the hidden boy's eyes widened as he heard that they had already found his location. This isn't good. Not even the chakra feed mist isn't hiding me, he thought as an ice mirror appeared behind him as he quickly took a step behind himself and vanished into the mirror. In a clearing by a small lake, a large man with a sword that is about a half a foot shorter than himself stood waiting for his tool to return. He looked up as a mirror appeared before him. Report, he growled out in his gravelly voice. I was stopped by them. But I did see who is protecting the old man. We have a problem. For if his protectors are in the bingo book as well, an unknown man with golden hair with wings as a boy that appeared to look like the man as well had wings. As well one of the woman from the bingo book had wings. Said Haku to his master. Show me who was there. Ordered the man. The boy pulled out the newest of the bingo books they had picked up off of a rock shinobi they had killed for the man's bounty. There on page 45 was the 2 women in the group. Trixie Namikaze. Age unknown, for she appears as a child of 9 years old. But when pissed takes an adult from that appears to be 19 to 21 years old. Skills. Unknown, for no one lives after any encounters. Bounty. 50 million alive. 90 million dead. From the hidden stone, hidden mist, land of demons, and hidden cloud. Feel on sight as she is always with her eldest sister Maze Namikaze. The money is not worth it. Maze Namikaze. Age 21 to 23. Skills. Unknown but uses strange blades and other weapons. Bounty. 60 million alive. 100 million dead. From the hidden stone, hidden mist, land of demons, hidden sand, and hidden cloud. The hidden sand Kazekage wants her hand in marriage if brought to his village alive. Feel on sight as she is not worth the money as well. She is always with her younger sister Trixie. As well both women are the sisters to one Minato Namikaze, the yellow flash. Haku then flipped a few more pages to 65. Sakumo Namikaze. Age 25 to 30 years old. Skills. Unknown beside being able to shapeshift into a werewolf or wolf-like beast. Bounty. 120 million dead. 150 million alive to enter into breeding program for Hidden Auto Village. Hidden Mist, Hidden Stone, Hidden Cloud, Hidden Sand, and Land of Demons and Land of Tea for disrespecting the Tea Lord. Kakashi Hatake. Age 20 years old. Skills. Chidori, Skill Tracker, Dog Summons, Skilled Assassin. Bounty. 50,000 alive. 60,000 dead. The man looked up from the book. We could make a nice payday with just 3 of them. Kakashi will just be chump change, he said with a sigh. Yes, Zabuza-sama. But the unknowns are the ones that make me worry though. Also they outpower the 2 of us. For I do not believe my ice will be able to handle Sakumo as well as the 2 women. Said Haku as he looks up at his master. If I was you, I would listen the child. Came a smooth but dark voice from behind the 2. There stood a woman with blonde hair as her eyes flash crimson. My master Sakumo doesn't have time to play with you 2. As well, the troll you are working for will turn on you too. He has done that to the last shinobi that he had hired in the land of demons. She said with a grin on her face. There is a reason he and the 2 women are allowed in the land of demons, she told them. You are? Questioned Zabuza as he looked at the woman. A smirk played at the corner of her mouth. I am a hellhound summons of my master as well as his lover. She told him as she took on her hellhound from. This made a shiver run down the large man's back. His large hand pushed the boy behind him. What the hell are you? Questioned Zabuza. Sakumo slowly stepped out of the mist. We are demons from hell. For we have a mission to protect the child of our master, he said as his eyes flashed amber. Leave here now, Haku. Growled out Zabuza. An ice mirror appeared behind the boy as Zabuza took his sword and stepped back along with his student. This was a fight he knew himself that he would not be able to handle as this was a true demon. Border of the land of wave. 2 men stood in the tree line looking at the sea before them. So do we go now, or do we just wait until the week is up? Asked a blue-skinned man as he glanced over to his left to a shorter man standing next to him. We wait. I still don't like this job that Kakuzu got us, said the shorter male to the taller one. The taller male just nods his head to this. Fine, we can set up camp nearby, he said and turned to walk away. Hidden base, this isn't good, growled out Zabuza. Haku looks up to his master. That bastard has confirmed the gut feeling I have been getting for the past week we have been here. The way the bastard has been watching you mostly, said Zabuza as he looks to his tool. What do we do now? Questioned Haku. We watch and wait, said Zabuza as he walked over to his chair and sat down with his massive sword resting on his lap. Naruto and the others, well, did you have fun? Questioned Maze as she and the group walked up behind Sakumo. Sakumo looked over his shoulder with a grin. Not really. But I have something else to keep me busy until we have issues, he tells her as his eyes move over to Kakashi as he just pales and looks away from his father. Lucifer sat before Cammy with a smirk on his devilishly handsome face. British accent. "Why Cammy, why are you so against me going back to Earth?" he asked with his smirk on his face. Cammy glares at the fallen archangel sitting before her. "Lucifer," she hissed. "It would be too much trouble having you back on Earth playing around like you have in the past," she told him as Yami just sat there nodding her head in agreement. "Well Cammy, I came here to ask if I am able to return to Earth in a different way," said Lucifer, looking at the two women before him with confusion on their faces. "What way would you be returning back to Earth, Lucifer?" questioned Yami as she wanted to know what the Prince of Darkness was up to. Lucifer's eyes flashed crimson as he looked over at Yami, still with his devilish charming smile. "I would like to be reborn on Earth to live like a human with some of my power, of course. I don't want to be completely powerless," he said, looking at the two. "But also I would like to have Maze joining me if that wouldn't be too much trouble," he added on with a grin. End of flashback. Just a little flashback of Lucifer's meeting with the two goddesses. Itachi looked over at the ocean that kept him and his partner from crossing to the land of Wave. "I'm getting a bad feeling about this mission, and if what I spotted with my crows. We don't want to get mixed up in that man's mission, for it would mean the end for Kisame, as the fool would go head first thinking his sword will protect him from death. But can't that blade protect him from a true demon?" he wondered to himself as he turned to look over at the now snoring Kisame. Konoha Hokage's office. A woman with crimson locks appeared before the Hokage in a ring of fire. The old man froze as he saw who it was. "Kashina-chan," he whispered with fear lacing his voice. Kashina grinned at the old man with a scroll in her hands. "Hello old man. I see they're still having you as a paper pusher," she told him in a teasing tone. He let out a sign. "If you are here, then it appears something is happening. For the dead just doesn't reappear in the land of the living out of the blue," he told her with another sigh. A smirk played across Kashina's lips. "Well, I do have a scroll to deliver for my husband Lucifer. He wants to enter a team into the up-and-coming Chunin exams," she told him as his eyes widened when she said her husband's name. He just dumbly nodded his head and took the scroll from the woman's hand. "I will be seeing you both in 6 months?" he asked her. She just nodded her head as she vanished into another flash of flames as the office door opened. "Land of Wave, where are the two I have hired to kill Zabuza?" growled out Gato as he looked at his men. "I'm not sure, boss. But one of the guards did say they saw 2 men in the forest on the land of Fireside dressed in black robes with red clouds," said a silver-hair thug. Gato's eye began twitching. "Those are the 2 bastards that I hired to take care of the trouble, as it appears Zabuza has turned tail," he grumbled out as he looked at another man in his office. "Send a boat to pick those 2 up," he ordered as he looked down next to him at the poor girl chained to his desk. She was a traveler that had just arrived on the island that morning, and one of Gato's thugs found her and brought her to his boss as she was beautiful with her brown eyes and raven locks and milk-white skin. "Now my dear, we should get to know each other," said Gato with a disgusting smirk on his face, looking down at the young woman. Her brown eyes narrow on him as a smirk plays across her lips. "I would rather not," she said as the chains on her wrist began to metal as flames surround her fist. "I have to meet up with my little brother and I don't have time for a fool like yourself," she hissed out at him, with the old fool turning pale and running away as he yells for his thugs to protect him from the she-devil before him. The large oak desk had flames licking at it. But it wasn't burning it, as it appeared the young woman was controlling the flames around her. "Take whatever you want and just leave," cried Gato as the young woman looked at the money on his desk. She shrugged her shoulders and opened the pack she had on her back and put the money in it and jumped out of the window. This wasn't her problem, and she had to get back to her little brother she hadn't seen in a while. Traveling the sea and the world had been fun. But it was also lonely without her family, and now it was time to return, for her little brother was now of age to become a shinobi, as he would always tell her he was going to become the greatest of them all. The chapter is end here. Now we are meet with another chapter, so don't forget to subscribe our channel.